Birds don't usually disappear from your backyard for no reason. If every bird suddenly vanishes at the same time, it's often because they're all responding to the same signal, one that's easy for birds to notice, but surprisingly easy for us to miss. The strange part is that your feeders can still be full, your bird bath can still be clean, and your yard can look exactly the same. Yet the birds stay away. So what do they know that you don't? In this video, you'll discover what a suddenly silent backyard really means, the hidden clues birds are reacting to, and what you should do when every bird seems to disappear at once. If you've ever looked out your window and wondered, where did all the birds go? You're not alone. It's a moment that surprises almost every backyard bird lover at some point. One day your yard is full of movement and birdsong, and the next, it feels as if nature has simply hit the pause button. But here's the good news. Most of the time, this doesn't mean the birds have abandoned your yard forever. They're reacting to something in their environment. And once you understand how birds make these decisions, those quiet moments start to make a lot more sense. Welcome to Yard Bird Secret, where we uncover the hidden behaviors of the birds visiting your backyard and share simple, practical ways to better understand them. If you enjoy learning the fascinating secrets behind everyday bird behavior, consider subscribing so you don't miss future videos. Here's what surprises most people. When an entire backyard suddenly goes quiet, many homeowners assume the feeder is empty, the birds have migrated, or they've simply chosen another yard. Sometimes that's true, but very often, the real reason is something much more immediate. In fact, there's one common trigger that can cause nearly every bird to disappear in just a matter of minutes, even when there's plenty of food and fresh water waiting for them. We'll reveal that hidden trigger a little later. But first, you need to understand how birds decide whether your backyard is a place that's safe to stay or a place they should leave without hesitation. To understand why birds suddenly disappear, it helps to see your backyard the way they do. Every time a bird lands in your yard, it's making a quick decision. Is this place safe enough to stay? That question comes before food, before water, and even before curiosity. Survival is always the first priority. Unlike people, birds can't afford to ignore small changes around them. A strange movement in a nearby tree, an unfamiliar sound, a shadow passing overhead, or unusual activity on the ground can all signal potential danger. They don't wait to find out if the threat is real. They react first and investigate later. What's even more fascinating is that birds are constant, watching each other. When one bird suddenly takes off or gives a warning call, nearby birds pay attention. They may not know exactly what caused the alarm, but they know it's safer to leave than to take a chance. Within moments, that reaction can spread through your backyard, making it seem as though every bird disappeared at once. The important thing to remember is this: a silent backyard doesn't always mean the birds are gone. More often, it's a sign that they're responding to something they believe could put them at risk. Now let's look at the most common reasons that signal appears, and why some of them are so easy for us to overlook. The most common reason an entire backyard suddenly goes quiet is surprisingly simple. A predator has entered the area. That predator isn't always easy to spot. It could be a Cooper's hawk perched silently in a nearby tree, a neighborhood cat hiding beneath a bush, or even a large bird of prey circling high overhead. Birds often notice these dangers long before we do. To us, the yard may look perfectly normal, but birds have incredible eyesight and are constantly scanning for movement and shapes that signal trouble. The moment one bird detects a predator, it rarely keeps that information to itself. Many backyard birds use short alarm calls to warn others nearby. Even birds of different species learn to recognize these warnings. A house finch may react to a chickadee's alarm call, and a mourning dove may take flight simply because every other bird already has. Within seconds, your feeder can go from full of activity to completely empty. What's interesting is that this silence doesn't always last very long. If the danger passes and the birds decide the area is safe again, they'll often begin returning one by one. The first bird to come back is usually the one that's confident enough to test whether the threat is truly gone. But predators aren't the only reason birds suddenly disappear. Sometimes, the sky itself sends a warning long before people notice anything has changed. Another common reason birds suddenly disappear is a change in the weather. Have you ever noticed your feeders become quiet just before a heavy rainstorm or a strong wind arrives? Birds are remarkably sensitive to changes in air pressure and shifting weather conditions. While they can't predict the forecast the way we do, they can sense subtle environmental changes that often happen before storm reaches your backyard. Instead of staying out in the open, many birds move into dense shrubs, evergreen trees, or thick vegetation where they're better protected from wind and rain. To someone looking out the window, it can seem as if every bird has vanished. In reality, they may be just a few yards away, waiting for the weather to improve. Your own backyard activity can also make a difference. Loud construction, tree trimming, children playing close to the feeder, a barking dog, or repeated trips through the feeding area can temporarily convince birds that the space isn't safe. Most backyard birds prefer routines. When that routine is suddenly disrupted, they'll often leave and return later once everything becomes quiet again. There's another reason that surprises many bird lovers. Sometimes the birds haven't disappeared at all. They simply changed their priorities. During nesting season, parent birds spend much of the day gathering insects to feed their chicks instead of visiting seed feeders. In late summer and early fall, natural foods like berries, seeds, and insects become abundant, giving birds plenty of options beyond your backyard. They haven't stopped eating, they've simply found seasonal food sources that better meet their needs. These changes are completely normal, and they don't mean your yard has lost its appeal. So how can you tell whether your birds are simply taking a temporary break or whether there's something in your yard that needs your attention? That's exactly what you should look for next. If your backyard suddenly becomes quiet, the first thing to do is nothing. It may sound surprising, but rushing outside, moving your feeder, or constantly checking every few minutes can make cautious birds even more reluctant to return. Instead, spend a little time observing your yard from inside your home. Look for clues rather than assuming the birds have disappeared for good. Ask yourself a few simple questions. Has a hawk been perched nearby? Is a neighborhood cat hiding under a shrub? Did a storm just pass through? Has there been unusual noise, yard work, or heavy activity around the feeder? Even small changes can temporarily affect how safe birds feel. Next, make sure your backyard continues to offer the basics birds are looking for. Keep your feeders clean and filled with fresh seed. Replace the water in your bird bath regularly, especially during hot weather, and provide nearby shrubs or small trees where birds can quickly escape. If they feel threatened, a yard that offers both food and safe cover is far more inviting than one with food alone. Most importantly, be patient. Birds are constantly reassessing their surroundings. Once the disturbance has passed and they decide the area is safe again, they'll often return gradually. First one bird may appear, then another, and before long, the familiar sounds and activity can be back. Sometimes, the quietest day in your backyard isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's simply a reminder that birds are always paying attention to the world in ways we rarely notice. The next time you look outside and your backyard seems strangely silent, try not to assume the birds have disappeared forever. More often than not, they're simply responding to the world the way nature designed them to. Every flight, every pause, and every return is part of a constant effort to stay safe. What looks like an empty backyard to us may simply be birds waiting for the right moment to come back. The amazing part is that once you understand these hidden signals, you begin to notice your backyard differently. A quiet morning isn't just an absence of birds. It can tell a story about weather, predators, seasonal changes, or the subtle decisions birds make every single day. So, have you ever experienced a day when every bird suddenly disappeared from your backyard? How long did it take before they came back? And what do you think caused it? Share your experience in the comments. We'd love to hear your story, and it might even help another bird lover understand what's happening in their own yard. And if you enjoyed uncovering one more hidden secret of backyard birds, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Yard Bird Secret, and join us for the next mystery waiting just outside your window.